good evening and welcome. We're so glad that you're here this evening to be a part of the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation's Awards Banquet. It's an annual event, and this year, let's face it, it is an awards banquet that is unlike any other because it's going to mark some events and some accomplishments and some noteworthy things that have been done by the men and women of this department in a year that was unlike any other in 2020. So we're glad you're here with us in person. Thank you for being a part of this, and we're also glad that our viewing audience online is here with us as well. Formally, please let me welcome you on behalf of Sheriff Jay Kuhn and also the men and women of the board of the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation. We're so delighted that you're a part of this evening. Let me share with you a little bit about how we'll get things underway here this evening. I'll continue here for just a moment and then turn it over to Sheriff Jay Kuhn. He will share some remarks with you. And then Rachel Popkowski, who is the chair of the board of the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation, will also share some remarks. And then we'll get into the part of the evening that includes our awards. And we'll go through that. You'll have an opportunity to see your loved one, your friend, your colleague step forward and accept their award, and also you online will have an opportunity to do that as well. So we invite you to enjoy yourselves this evening and have a great time. Tonight's event is brought to you by AAA Heating and Air. They are the presenting sponsor of the evening. We have other sponsors to tell you about throughout our time together tonight, and you'll be hearing about them as our evening continues. So without further ado, let me please welcome to the podium Sheriff Jay Kuhn.
Thank you, Adam. Adam, I think, watched a master, so he gave a little Jim Nance tradition unlike any other a couple of times. Certainly, we want to welcome everyone in the audience here and watching on various virtual devices. Kind of echo what Adam said. It's been a different procedure we had to take on tonight, but certainly we did not want to miss this great event. Certainly want to thank all our foundation members for what they do for us. You know, we often brag about working and serving and living in a community that supports law enforcement, which we don't take for granted, and they certainly do a wonderful job tapping into those willing, giving folks and acting as a conduit to assist our men and women in uniform and all of our employees. Also the sponsors, couldn't do it without their generous donations, and you'll hear a little more about those as the evening moves on. And also our employees that help bring this event, put this event on. Obviously it's a little different with all our virtual component this year, so everybody, especially Lee Tammy, Lee Barrett, Miss Michelle, and Miss Carly, thank y'all for helping out tonight. Obviously, this has been a very challenging year, to say the least. I'm very proud the way our men and women at this office stepped up to serve. I think we all remember last March when our world changed and shut down before our eyes. As we know, schools closed, businesses were not allowed to open, but law enforcement and a detention center had to keep going. And our men and women showed up and brought it every day. Certainly COVID touched all of us like many of y'all. Some with little or no symptoms, many a lot like me with a couple days of flu-like symptoms and then a week or two of recovery. And unfortunately, we had several long-term hospitalizations. When it first started, it was like the plague, you know. Nobody knew what was coming. Our men and women were uneasy going in folks' homes, dealing with our inmates. We didn't know. We had to take our best precautions and move forward. But not only COVID, we dealt last May with the civil unrest that moved across our country. We had to help our neighbors with some riots. We had to protect a lot of commercial property in our own county. Then towards the end of the summer, we had a deputy seriously injured in a motor vehicle collision. We had 3 deputies shot in 2 incidents, very close together, very scary. Thankfully, they all recovered. 2 of those deputies were very early in their careers. One of them had already given me his retirement papers. So we kind of, after we realized he was going to be okay, we had a good laugh about that in the emergency room. Then the fall brought national politics that caused everybody to kind of beat up on law enforcement again. But I think more than anything, COVID, outside the obvious sicknesses and death we faced, some of my employees have heard this, I think the way it really hurt us is canceling all this positive interactions we have with our community, because men and women that work here, we're humans too, and much like everybody, we have to have a balance of positive, good, and not so good. And law enforcement and detention, we deal with people quite often on their worst days. So when you get that negative, it kind of eats at you. So COVID canceled a lot of festivals, parades, positive community interactions. So I'm so excited as the vaccine rolls out, and hopefully these kind of events can crank back up and we can start those positive engagements again. That is very important. That's why it's so important the foundation was able to pull this off tonight and continue this great tradition like none other. Want to thank everybody again, the supportive community, our hardworking employees, and want to congratulate each of our winners tonight and your families here with you. I know they are very proud of you, as all of us are too. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Ms. Rachel to come up and give a few remarks. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. I am Rachel Popkowski, the current chair of the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation. It is my honor to welcome you tonight, to be here with you, either here at the Sheriff's Department or virtually from home. A little bit about the Sheriff's Foundation. We were founded in 1999, so we're over 20 years old. And we were founded with a mission to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Lexington County and to preserve the professional standards and safety of the employees of the Sheriff's Department through active citizen involvement. Funding for the foundation comes through various fundraising activities, including event sponsors, honorariums, and private contributions. Those both are personal as well as business contributions. Because of these contributions, the foundation has purchased many types of equipment, training materials, and provided other services such as gym memberships for members of the department, again, for over 22 years. The Board of Directors is extremely grateful for our sponsors that support our mission through this generous giving. We have 12 incredible sponsors this evening, one of which is our presenting sponsor, as mentioned earlier, AAA Heating and Air. And while Mr. Roy Finley was invited, he is unable to be here this evening with us due to a family illness. We want to make sure we take a moment to say thank you so much to them for their support of the foundation. I also want to take a quick minute to recognize the men and women that make up the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation Board. Due to social distancing and protocol, they were unable to join us here physically tonight, but many of them are watching from home. And so just to rattle off their names quite quickly, Matt Porth, he's the vice chair of the board. Brian Kunar is our treasurer. Joan Kalick is our secretary. Pat Ayers, Robin Brown, who's also one of the founding members, so she's been here for 22 years, Jacob Cook, Chase Colbert, Jonathan Gonzalez, Connie McFarland, Bruce Smith, and Ben Wilsinski. And it's an honor to work with them with this great foundation. And lastly, before we get to the actual awards, which everybody's here for, I want to thank each and every member of the Sheriff's Department. I know we're only recognizing 13 individuals tonight, but each and every person that is a member of the Lexington Sheriff's Department team, civilian, deputy, jail, I don't care what, you make it the great community that it is, and we are truly honored to support you through the foundation. So while 2020 was not a year we necessarily want to repeat, we do want to recognize some outstanding work that happened in 2020. So without further ado, I'll turn it back over to Adam.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and we appreciate your work as a part of the foundation, on the board, and all of the board members, because they have made tonight possible along with our sponsors. And again, you'll be hearing more about them. Our presenting sponsor again tonight is AAA Heating and Air, but so many others have made our awards possible. Rachel referenced we have about a dozen awards tonight, and we are going to recognize a number of individuals as a part of that. We have a tie in one of the categories. I believe we have 12 awards and 13 recipients. So without further ado, let's get to the main event of tonight's gathering and begin to tell you a little bit about some of these award recipients and their accomplishments in 2020. The first award of the evening is known as the Foundation Award. Tonight's recipient of the Foundation Award for 2020 is Captain Jesse Lance. Jesse is being recognized by the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation Board of Directors for his longtime support of the foundation, especially through his role as founder and race director of the Jailbreak Escape Urban Challenge Run. That's one of the many events Rachel referenced a moment ago that serve as fundraisers for the foundation. The Urban Challenge Run, the Jailbreak Escape as we call it here within the department, is one of the foundation's primary fundraisers. And in addition to the money raised through the race, the foundation and the Sheriff's Department both benefit from the positive interactions that occur between hundreds of participants, support staff, and sponsors. Let's give him a round of applause. Our second award of the evening is the Law Enforcement Explorer of the Year. Let me take a very brief moment to tell you about the Explorer program that is not just here at the Lexington County Sheriff's Department, but is around the country and, in fact, international in scope. It's an opportunity, it provides an opportunity for those interested in law enforcement who are in their late teens to their early 20s who want to find out about the profession and who are considering pursuing the profession full time. Our Explorer program here at the Sheriff's Department is alive and well. We had record-breaking numbers join our program this year. This year's Law Enforcement Explorer of the Year is John Michael Hanks. His peers and the Foundation Board selected him for this award because as a senior member of the post here at Lexington County, John Michael is known for his knowledge, his integrity, and his drive to succeed as an explorer and also an Eagle Scout. John Michael has provided hundreds of hours of volunteer work to the community, providing such services as litter pickup, fingerprinting children, and also traffic direction. He currently attends Midlands Technical College. He plans to pursue a bachelor's degree and also plans to pursue a full-time career in law enforcement. Our next award is for Volunteer of the Year. Lawrence Markey's selection as the Volunteer of the Year is based on his 2,000 plus hours. That is correct, 3 zeros, 2,000 plus hours of work in support of the evidence unit here at the Sheriff's Department. His efforts included over the course of 2020 the performance of such tasks as warehousing evidence, reorganizing storage space, and preparing property for release. And also, maybe the most important task that he handled for us, keeping the gun room in order in evidence, an important job. In addition, he has for years responded to many calls for service as a state constable, primarily in the North region, the north part of the county, up in Irmo, West Columbia, and Casey. And Lawrence Markey is this year's Volunteer of the Year. Our next award of the evening is the Brian S. Mills Distinguished First Year Officer Award. Gabriel Mulkey's selection as the Brian S. Mills Distinguished First Year Officer could have been based solely on his productivity in answering calls, conducting property checks, and proactively identifying criminal activity around the county. However, Gabe further distinguished himself through his actions while responding to a domestic disturbance in August of last year. It was during that call that Gabe, as he's known around the department, and another deputy were shot by a suspect who was using a child as a human shield. This is one of those cases you heard Sheriff Kuhn mention moments ago. Despite his injury in that incident, however, Gabe stayed in the fight. He tased the suspect and eventually helped get that suspect in custody and take care of other things there on the scene in the wake of that tremendous, intense action there that afternoon. Up next, it's the Civilian of the Year Award. That goes this year to Emily Scott. Emily has done an extraordinary work in taking on new responsibilities as the detention center worked through personnel shortages and the challenges posed by COVID-19. Emily served as point person in dealing with operational issues associated with bringing in a new contract laundry service, She also took the lead in managing the inmate tablet program, coordinated special diet programs, completed paperwork for the inmate worker program, and then also distributed cleaning supplies. Keep in mind, that laundry contract, a big deal. We have a few hundred people back there. We have to wash their stuff every day. It's like a small city. But Emily is remarkably efficient in executing things on that laundry contract and many other duties, and always displays a can-do attitude. Our next award is for the Reserve Deputy of the Year. A quick note, when you hear Reserve Deputy, please know that our Reserve Deputy program is made up of volunteers. They undergo the same training, the same certification process, and answer calls and serve alongside us in a capacity that, again, is all based on volunteerism and community service. This year's Reserve Deputy of the Year is Bill Glovna. And Bill completed 200 training hours to gain certification as a Reserve Deputy in February of 2020. And all told, Bill contributed more than 800 hours of volunteer service, there's that word again, all for the Sheriff's Department in 2020, most of that in support of North Region Patrol activities. For his selfless service, how about a round of applause for Bill? Our next award is sponsored by the Livingston Insurance Agency. Livingston Insurance Agency is sponsoring the School Resource Officer of the Year Award, and that goes to Andrew Chavs. Andrew was selected as the School Resource Officer of the Year based on his willingness to go above and beyond the call of duty at Saxe-Gotha Elementary School. Chavs found a variety of creative ways to engage students, all in the role of servant leader. And that is directly from the school's principal in his nomination. Among his many contributions to the school, Andrew assisted with the school's flag detail, also helped with the beautification of the school grounds. I did that at his other school as well, I believe Red Bank Elementary. And there are also other cases of his, again, going above and beyond at those two schools, both on and off duty. And he also assisted with the delivery of backpack meals and also some special Christmas deliveries on the part of Santa back last Christmas. How about a round of applause for Andrew, the SRO of the Year? Our next award is made possible by Avtech. Avtech is sponsoring our Community Service Award this evening. That award goes to Lance Thomas. He's the recipient of this year's Community Service Award for his efforts as the Red Bank Resident Deputy. That is a deputy who embeds themselves in the community. They're known by the residents, the homeowners association groups, and the other businesses there in that particular area. For Lance, that's Red Bank, as he serves as the resident deputy there. Lance answered more than, or almost, practically 900 calls for service. He wrote more than 160 reports, made 34 arrests, and then also investigated more than 150 cases and completed sex offender verifications of about 53 or so people. We have to make sure they're living where they say they're living. Lance also took a special interest in working with homeless people in that part of the county, and Lance partnered in doing that with the United Way to go out, get into homeless camps, and identify anyone wanting some assistance. He also worked with the United Way and also Transitions and Centerpoint Community Church to get food, necessities, and temporary housing out to those in need in Red Bank. You'll remember at the top of our program I mentioned we had a tie in one category, and the foundation board members decided that Investigator of the Year would be a tie. The board has chosen to recognize both Jonathan Brock and Shannon Dykes as Investigators of the Year. Now, first of all, very quickly here, based on his current duties and for security reasons, you won't be seeing Shannon tonight, but you will be seeing Jonathan. Jonathan was selected for his work on a case that would eventually end up as the largest RICO case in South Carolina. That's racketeering influence, corruption, organization, a very big deal, suffice to say. Lots of great news coverage on that, and Jonathan was a big part of that with his other partners across various federal agencies. Let me get back to Shannon for a moment as well, because Shannon was recognized for his exemplary work and outstanding production as a member of the U.S. Marshal Service's Fugitive Task Force. How about a round of applause for both? Our next award is sponsored by Gregory Electric Company, and that award is for Outstanding First Line Supervisor. And that Outstanding First Line Supervisor for 2020 is Master Deputy Nick Huffstetler. Nick is being recognized as the Outstanding First Line Supervisor for his work and also for his leadership of personnel during an incident in which 2 deputies were shot. This is a reference back to what Deputy Mulkey was involved in and what the sheriff mentioned at the top of our program. Of course, 2 deputies were shot in that situation, and it affected the arrest of that subject who, again, it was started out as a domestic violence call, led to other charges, of course. But during the incident, Nick engaged the suspect with Nick's firearm, and that effectively stopped the suspect's assaultive actions. He then rendered aid to that wounded suspect and ensured that the deputies who were injured there on the scene got aid and provided direction to other deputies who were on scene around that apartment complex. So Master Deputy Nick Huffstetler is this year's Outstanding First Line Supervisor. Motorola Solutions sponsors our next award, which is Correctional Officer of the Year. Trevor Campbell's demonstrated excellence in providing for the care, custody, and control of inmates led to his winning this award of the 2020 Correctional Officer of the Year, sponsored by Motorola Solutions. And the nomination form for him reads like this. It comes from his sergeant, Lori Bailey. She says that Trevor's versatility as both a booking and housing officer in the detention center, and his attention to detail, administratively speaking, and the outstanding quality of his work product make him an exceptionally valuable member of the shift in the detention center. So Trevor Campbell is our Correctional Officer of the Year. Our final award this evening is sponsored by Sun Solutions. Sun Solutions has sponsored the Deputy of the Year Award. This year's Deputy of the Year is Field Training Officer Willie Harris. FTO Harris was selected as the Deputy of the Year for the life-saving actions he took in response to a car crash back around last Christmas time. It was December 23rd, about 1:45 in the afternoon, when Willie arrived at the crash scene, and he quickly recognized the threat to human life posed by the fire that was engulfing one of the vehicles. Willie responded by jumping into the back seat of the vehicle, unbuckling the unresponsive driver's seatbelt, and then got out of the vehicle so that he could better work to get that injured driver out. After multiple attempts, he was able to free the driver from behind the steering wheel and drag him out of the vehicle. The driver was subsequently transported for medical treatment and eventually fully recovered from injuries thanks to the efforts of FDO Willie Harris, also assisting personnel from the Lexington County Fire Service and Lexington County EMS. So Deputy of the Year award goes to FTO Willie Harris. That concludes our awards for this evening. We are again thankful to you for taking time out of your night to be here. On behalf of Sheriff Kuhn, also on behalf of the board of the Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation, thank you for taking that time, for joining us. Thank you for watching also as well and being a part virtually of this event tonight. I want to conclude by sharing with you again our sponsors, because they made this possible. The Lexington County Sheriff's Foundation wanted to do this, as you heard the sheriff reference, despite COVID and despite this different type of year, and the sponsors stepped in and stepped up to make that possible. So Livingston Insurance Agency, Gregory Electric Company, also Sun Solutions, Avtech and Motorola Solutions, they were a part of our sponsorship. You heard them. They sponsored some of the individual awards. but also tonight was made possible in part by Cherokee Trail Veterinary Hospital, First Community Bank, J.K. Smith Incorporated, Michelin, Mid-Carolina Electric Cooperative, and the Temples Halloran Funeral Home, in addition, of course, to the presenting sponsor, AAA Heating and Air. Thank you again for joining us, for joining your family members and being a part of this special night for them. Thank you for joining us online as well. We hope you have a great evening, and thank you for being a part of our event tonight. Have a good evening.